Hopefully this time my assistant Digi will tell us who will introduce this topic. Will you, Digi?
I am a co-host, not an assistant. A co-host. Okay. Now, as the human guy here said, our keynote speaker will be all the way from India, Mr. Pramod Varma.
Indeed, Digi, indeed. You're right. Dr. Pramod Varma is the CTO of XStep Foundation, learning platform for 200 million children in India. Chief architect of India's digital identity program, successfully covering more than 1.2 billion people. Co-founder of Beckn.org, creating open source protocol specifications for hyperlocal decentralized commerce. Dr. Varma, we are really honored to have you here at the Western Balkans Digital Forum.
I was supposed to say that.
Hush, Digi, hush. We're listening to Dr. Varma.
Connectivity, data, and AI, all of which will have an unimaginable impact on society. Hi, I'm Pramod Varma, Chief Architect of India's Digital Identity Program and Architect of India's Stack, touching 1 billion people in India. I'm pleased to be speaking with all of you today on this important topic. In the last 2 decades, the world saw unprecedented growth of data resulting from increased connectivity, mobiles, and cloud computing. Today, there are more than 6 billion smartphone users in the world. Connectivity is fast becoming ubiquitous. Digitization and virtualization of our lives seem inevitable. AI and deep learning algorithms have seen a non-linear improvement in the last 3-4 years. AI is not necessarily about human-looking robots as we see in movies. It'll be way more subtle and invisible. It'll be everywhere and everything we do. Low-cost sensors, 5G, combined with cheap storage and compute will further accelerate this trend. Domestic and cross-border trade, skilling and job opportunities, access to affordable and quality healthcare, virtualized education will all be disrupted and transformed beyond our imagination. At the same time, few private companies are monopolizing data. Privacy and cybersecurity fears are real. Fake news and deepfakes are starting to impact societies. And there is real fear of AI moving at a pace beyond what policymakers can deal with. We must therefore be very cognizant of this and deliberately plan policies and technology to minimize harm. Let me tell you a bit about India and how connectivity, data, and AI are starting to play out at scale. From having to wait for 5 years to get a phone in the late 90s, India has come a long way. We have more than 1 billion smartphone users, about 500 million smartphone users, 600 million plus internet users, and has the cheapest data plans in the world. India in the last decade has also invested in building India's stack, a set of digital building blocks from identity to digital signature to electronic payments and others. This rapid digitization is resulting in massive amounts of data being generated. Hence, dealing with data and AI-driven innovation was not an option. It was a necessity. India's Personal Data Protection and Empowerment Bill will ensure personal data is not only protected, but also given everyone has access to all their digital footprints. Like the way we created policies and infrastructure for connectivity, we are creating data policies and data infrastructure. Our aim is complete data portability and privacy-preserving data exchange. We are democratizing access to data, where neither large companies nor government can monopolize data, but individuals and innovators are empowered with data. I want to end with this. Imagine you have all the power in the world. What policy and technology infrastructure would you bring to create a privacy preserving, democratized, data driven economy, AI economy? What would you do to ensure AI driven economy brings inclusion and human empowerment rather than exclusion and harm? Thank you.
Such a privilege to have you here with us, Dr. Varma. Now we are going to alarm some conspiracy theories because in the same panel, we are going to treat the issues related to artificial intelligence and 5G. Okay, we are going to attend the session 6 of this summit, a panel called Intersection of AI and 5G, What to Expect in the Western Balkans. And we need an expert to guide us through this panel. It's an unexplored land. So she started her career at Croatian Posts and Telecommunications. Then she moved to Siemens Croatia in their communications sector, which later became known as Nokia. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that some of you have already recognized our next moderator, Ms. Sandri Nives from Nokia Siemens Networks, Zagreb, Croatia. Ms. Sandri, please proceed. No, DG, please, okay? Don't pay any attention to my silly assistant. Go away. There's a panel now. Please, go away.
Thank you very much for introducing our panel. Let me also introduce my colleagues who are also members of this panel. But before this, to tell you, thank you very much for all those who are having a time today, listen our panel. We do believe that topic we are having on our agenda today is really needed to be discussed because through discussion, I'm sure you will learn more, and additionally, you will also see the situation in the Western Balkan economies from the directly people coming from there. Okay, whom we have in our panel. Let me start with Mr. Nikola Ljušev, CEO of Makedonski Telekom and representative of Deutsche Telekom. I need to say that we have a problem a little bit for Mr. Ljušev to join. Hopefully he will succeed in steps to join, so he will join us as well. Nevertheless, we are still having 4 additional participants. Ms. Meliha Kovačević, she's head of Department Communication Regulatory Agency in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Then we have Julian McNeil. He is a consultant in ITU for Europe. Then we have Elvin Guri, entrepreneur in Investor Empower Capital Albania. And then last but not least, of course, Ms. Fiola Restelica Ahmeti, project and component coordinator Kosovo, Digital Economy Program Kosovo. We are all together here to present you what we do believe should be said on these topics. But before this, we would like also to share with you one video which should be base for our discussion about 5G as a base and then artificial intelligence as a really needed next step that 5G can really boost to the maximum. Please, if we can have our video prepared. Video is, you will see video is inspiration speech from Sean Kennedy, head of artificial intelligence labs in Nokia Bell Labs department.
Hello, my name is Sean Kennedy and I lead the AI research lab inside of Nokia Bell Labs. There's no question that algorithms bring critical differentiation to many of the products we sell at Nokia. There's also no question that in recent years, the most valuable algorithms have been driven by AI and machine learning. Of course, AI is not new, and even in the 1980s, Yann LeCun had shown the power of convolutional neural networks at Bell Labs. But what's changed is that it has become impossible to find a facet of human life that is not driven in part by AI algorithms and principles. The first thoughts around machines that could think and take their own decisions emerged in the early 1900s. For almost half a century, they remained fiction until the 1950s when scientists started to analyze whether the ideas of such stories could be turned into reality. Famously, Alan Turing asked whether machines could think and described a test for assessing machine intelligence. There was a tremendous sense of optimism for creating thinking machines. Indeed, researchers predicted that a fully intelligent machine would be built in less than 20 years. In the 1980s, enthusiasm started to grow again, but a multitude of obstacles at the time put AI back to sleep for the wider public. Thankfully, scientists didn't give up and quietly pursued their work. We had a glimpse into the future to come with examples like IBM's Deep Blue, an artificially intelligent chess computer that would beat world chess champion and grandmaster Garry Kasparov in 1997. Fast forward to 2012, and the surprising performance of deep neural networks had led to the algorithmic revolution that we're living through today. This revolution is being driven by data that is being collected at scale through a multitude of new and fully connected sensors, data that is moving at speed and without latency through networks such as 5G, data that is being processed by the capacity and speed of microelectronics and the dramatic and affordable increase in computing, processing power, and data storage capabilities. The value of AI is clear. It has enabled scientists, engineers, doctors, students, workers, and actually all of us to literally stand on the shoulders of giants. AI helps us interpret the vast amounts of data that humans would never be capable of dealing with alone. It augments doctors to save lives. It brings us speech recognition and verbal interactions with machines. It allows us to detect anomalies in cyberspace, to fight cyber attacks. And it is driving new levels of automation never seen before on this planet. So how are we driving this future at Nokia and inside of Nokia Bell Labs? I'd like to just list off some of our business use cases that we're going after, which offer huge improvements with no or very low risk for end consumers. We are using AI to automate issue resolution by analyzing network and service health, allowing us to identify root causes and trigger preventative and corrective actions. We are using AI to automate 5G networks by predicting future network outages and capacity constraints. We are using AI for self-organizing networks, allowing mobile networks to continuously adapt to changes in capacity and make network configuration changes, a critical function for 5G. We are using AI to learn from live network patterns to efficiently use power, increasing energy efficiency. We are using AI for massive MIMO beamforming, and in fact, we are even using AI to help design the networks themselves. All of this put together shows you that AI has a tremendous potential in telecoms and connectivity. Imagine the potential it has in all sectors of economic and social activity. These are certainly at the core of what you will speak of today. As a final note, allow me to wish all of the countries of this region success in investing into STEM education, digital skills, fiber, and 5G deployment, and following and contributing to many of the European initiatives that touch on these areas of AI and data. I wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, let us continue. Many thanks to Mr. Varma, many thanks to Sean. I mean, it is clear that artificial intelligence is not anything new. I mean, we are aware about that scientists were working with and on artificial intelligence from the beginning of 20th century. They were improving and working very hard to have algorithms to come to nowadays. But if we are looking up and talking about use cases in ICT, in telecom, in a connectivity, then we are in an area, in an age of enormous, huge number of data. It is clear, and we heard this from Varma and Mr. Varma and Sean, that without artificial intelligence, actually 5G would not be able to be completely used with full power and boost to the maximum. Therefore, let us today with our panelists see and discuss the status in Western Balkan economies and how we together can boost opportunities, what are opportunities we have, and actually what are possibilities with technologies of 5G, where artificial intelligence is must, as already said by Mr. Varma and Sean, and it is clear. Okay, let us start then with first panelist, Mr. Ilyushev. Thank you very much. You are succeeded to join despite problems. Thank you. Let us also tell you that our panel will be put in two sessions parts. One session part will be, we'll have the same questions for all our panelists to learn a little bit about them and also to see how they are engaged in the topic of today. And then second part, we will go more in details about the topic. Okay, let me start with the first question, where we would like to understand what motivates you, Mr. Ilyushev, and makes you passionate in dealing with 5G and artificial intelligence in your environment in Macedonia and in the group, of course.
Hello, good day to all. Dobar dan. Hope that you can hear me well.
Yes, very good.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be in this round on panelists and speak about a topic that is very close to my heart and to the company that I'm representing. Makedonski Telekom is part of Deutsche Telekom Group and is the largest communications operator in Macedonia with 60% revenue share. We are commanding also lion's share of profitability of the market, but not only in terms of revenue and profitability, we are also in terms of our investment capacity. We are the largest operator in the country. Only last year, Makedonski Telekom CapEx share was close to 2/3 of the total telco investment in Macedonia, which speaks about our long-term commitment to the market. Now, back to your question, I have three fundamental reasons or beliefs that make me passionate and positive about 5G and artificial intelligence. The first reason is my conviction that 5G and AI will have a positive impact on economic welfare. And although welfare can be observed in two dimensions, purely economic one and the other one on the social front, I'm mostly referring at the moment to economic KPIs like investments, like taxes, levies, output, productivity, profits, GDP growth. According to the study that was commissioned back in 2018 for the purpose of the first Western Balkan Digital Summit in Skopje, and in my opinion, a study that is still very valid, improvements in the digitization index for 10 points in Western Balkan is going to bring 0.6 to 0.7 growth, percentage growth in GDP. The second reason that makes me very confident and bullish about these technologies is the power of these, of their specific combination. Namely, I think that 5G and artificial intelligence perfect and complement each other quite nicely. 5G will surely accelerate development of new AI use cases, and more mature AI will contribute to the penetration of 5G devices. In other words, AI and 5G together will make possible capabilities that never ever existed before. And the last reason, to my understanding, definitely the most important, and the reason why I'm so passionate about it, 5G and AI might be eventually our last chance to save the planet, our singular human habitus. In the last 100 of years, we have quite badly damaged our planet, and now maybe we have the very last chance to reverse things back before we're going to lose the planet for good. The consequences that we see in climate change, in the depletion of natural resources, in the natural catastrophes are more than obvious. 5G and AI give us opportunity to slow down the use of natural resources, to help agriculture and improve food production, to increase land use and recover biodiversity, reduce carbon footprint, and improve energy efficiency. Never before we have seen such a powerful combination of transformative technologies that pack a potent punch against negative trends, and I'm hopeful that 5G and AI will live up to these promises.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ilyushev. Fully agreed. I mean, staying and being more green, because this is essential, definitely for us to survive, then I fully agree. ICT is a base for a GDP growth and also definitely digital and being digital will contribute exactly to this, what you mentioned, and conclude. Thank you very much. Let us proceed. Ms. Meliha, please, what is your view and what is your engagement with these interesting topics? We cannot hear you. You need to unmute.
Yes. Hello, thank you. From personal perspective of one engineer, so I'm quite thrilled to witness the emergence of such new technologies as 5G. As I recall now, my childhood dream was video communications, not even mention mobile communications. Now my daughter talks to her laptop. Really new era is coming. So 5G networks are set to accelerate fourth industrial revolution and create huge opportunities in business and society. So the greater versatility and capability of 5G means that it would be used for much more wide range of purposes than simple mobile broadband for business and customers, and by a diverse set of providers. So together with artificial intelligence, the two technologies have a potential to create a whole new ecosystem that may change our world and make it a better place for living. So announcements of 5G as a sustainable, converged, energy more efficient network are quite inspiring. So we are in anticipation of applications that can make us safer and healthier, our work more productive and more reliable. And therefore, I strongly believe that 5G and AI may contribute to aligning with global strategic directions describing UN Agenda 2030 and Sustainable Development, expressing 17 goals from eradicating poverty to protection of planet. So these goals cannot be reached without strong involvement and help of technology.
Definitely, fully agreed. Julian, you are a member not coming from Western Balkan economies, nevertheless, being very much in touch and being very much aware, what would be your view?
Thank you very much, Ms. Sandri, and good morning to everyone. Well, mobile services are without question an enabler for economic growth and innovation. Just the information, the data that Mr. Liushev presented is something that the association between penetration and GDP growth is really something that we at ITU see in many regions of the world. And mobile services significantly also contribute to ensuring social resilience, as it has been demonstrated during COVID-19. So as done in the past with previous generation of technologies, at ITU, we strive to support governments and regulators and other stakeholders in their efforts towards implementation of next generation technologies, such as 5G. And we are motivated to come back to your question. We are very motivated by the positive transformational impact on the lives of millions that these technologies have. In fact, if we think that of what 4G meant for our societies over the recent years, one cannot avoid wondering and having positive expectations for 5G in the future, especially in combination with other technologies such as artificial. So ITU seeks to bring these benefits to all corners of the world. And so this is in a nutshell what drives our work. Over to you.
Thank you a lot, Julian. Let us proceed. What motivates and passionates you, Viola?
Thank you, Ms. Sandri. It is an honor for me to be part of this panel with distinguished guests and panelists. Let me first introduce myself. I am Viola Restelica Ahmeti. I am head of the Kosovo Digital Economy Project Implementation Unit. CODE is a World Bank supported project that is implemented by the Ministry of Economy in Kosovo with the main objective of financing the digital, the most critical components that are needed for digital transformation of the country. The project started its implementation from 2019 for a 5-year period. To answer your questions, to come back to your question, Ms. Sandri, I have prepared a short slide, if I can share it with you all.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So these are actually Kosovo is a very well-connected country with a broadband infrastructure. As you can see from the left chart, we stand pretty good on the penetration of households, even beyond EU average. The broadband penetration, according to the last official data, has reached 130% of households, and also mobile penetration is about 110% based on active SIM cards. With the support of the Code project, as you can see from the right side, we have also managed to close the gaps, meaning to connect the white areas, the villages that were unconnected before with broadband infrastructure. Now, all populated rural areas are connected to fiber to the home. As you can see in 2021, there are just some small villages left without this broadband infrastructure, and in the table below are more some of the key developments from the projects that we have connected more than 188 villages. The investment model of public-private partnership that we have implemented has proven to be very essential, not only to ensure that we invest public funds responsibly, but also to achieve our objective much faster. Of course, one of our objective was through the public investment to actually attract private capital on those project areas as well. But as it was also introduced from the previous speakers and also from the videos you showed, there is a huge demand also to introduce new services. For us, we have still a lot of work to do in order to close connectivity gaps that we still have, like, for example, for backbone and for backhaul. And for this reason, we need to work together with the private sector as well, and to support them in also deploying new technologies of the future, such as 5G, but also of very high capacity networks, where also my work is. So also, yeah, taking into account also these figures that I have presented before, I am motivated and passionate to work and to continue my work on these activities that will support also the deployment of new generations of mobile networks in Kosovo, but as well as to introduce new services that will be provided through AI, and that will in turn contribute to the socio-development economies of Kosovo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Fiola. Let us then close our first round of questions with Elwin. Elwin, what motivates you and how you are coming to this area of 5G and artificial intelligence as being entrepreneur? And I can imagine you have full head of ideas and projects in your pipeline.
Thank you for this opportunity to address this most excellent panel and this distinguished audience. As a majority shareholder of One Telecommunications in Albania, the second largest mobile operator in the country, and as someone who has dealt with investments in financial services for the better part of the past 25 years, I am reasonably well positioned to have an opinion on both the current situation and stage of development of mobile networks and telecommunications in the country, but also to have some sort of idea on where things are going from this point on, both on 5G and on the potential applications of 5G in the country. During the past 3 years, the telecommunication industry in Albania has made significant investments in 4G and 4G plus technologies that have secured a very good quality and coverage for our customers. The result of this has been that the trend towards data traffic increase has accelerated to the point that companies such as ours have seen doubling of the data traffic year on year, especially on the consumer side. Business still has to catch up with that, I must admit, and I'll come back to the topic of business and business applications, technology applications in business. But even so, and under the guidance and certain actions that the government has taken, have contributed towards increase of data traffic and data usage, also on the business side. I am, as Mr. Lushev, I share Mr. Lushev's optimism about the possibilities and the opportunities that 5G brings to the industry and to our countries, especially for us as small countries. I am convinced that we need to adopt a build it and they will come approach when it comes to vital infrastructure, especially on the digital side. It is hard as it is to attract foreign investors and investors in general. Therefore, the quality of our infrastructure is, I believe, one of those factors that will definitely make the difference between investors that will want to come in and those that will decide to come in and invest in our countries. But for that to happen, there are several steps that both governments and businesses need to take. As it is, and as rightly was mentioned by other speakers before, artificial intelligence and IoT applications is not something new. In areas such as financial services, logistics, and so on, they have been almost, a rule of the game for the better part of 30 years. However, in smaller countries like ours, it has been difficult to find proper use cases, especially for business, for such applications. We're very happy that the leaders in the industry, such as Vodafone, have taken the lead also in introducing such applications in the country, especially when it comes to farming. The government has done also quite a bit with e-government applications, and we see quite a bit of potential on financial services, on logistics and telematics solutions, on education and on healthcare. But for that to happen, I believe that the governments need to take a leading role in creating the right conditions for the industry to invest and to see long-term and to plan for the long-term application and benefits of both 5G and the IoT applications that come with it. It is clear, I believe, that most of the applications will be on the government side and on the business side. However, taking into account the current stage of the development and of sophistication of our businesses, which are by and large small, we need to think in the space of the next 5, 6, 7 to 10 years for our businesses to start applying and implementing such applications properly. In the meantime, the business, our industry, will have to make sure that the basics and it makes economic sense. For that, we need the government to take the leading role, both in terms of long-term plans and in terms of regulatory support. As far as I'm concerned, the telecom industry should be, and from what I can see, is prepared to step up and invest to respond to such government signals and the government's creating the right conditions for such investments. I believe that this is the only way for a speedy adoption of 5G in our countries and for a slower eventual benefits from such application. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Elvin. Okay, now we learned in our first round your motivations, passion to be actually in this very important topic. We also learned how much you are engaged and what you are doing in your particular positions and jobs, bringing 5G and then ensuring that this 5G is efficient, what definitely artificial intelligence is making the job. Let us now go to the second part of our panel, where we will have different questions depending on a position and job our panelists are engaged. I would like to start with Julian Yu and actually ask you, what is the current status of implementation of 5G in Western Balkan economies, and what are the main challenges? As we know that 5G is a base for the next steps of the digitalization of the economies, therefore it's very important. Please share with us.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Neves. I will just pull up a few slides, if you will allow me.
Sure.
Just 1 second. Voila. I hope that you can see the screen.
Yeah, we see if you put it in exactly. So
Voila, perfect. So in order to respond to your question, I will now present a set of slides to give you a grasp of the work that ITU Office for Europe, which covers 46 countries in Europe, has been doing over the past year. Just this week, we are releasing a new report that has the objective of bridging the knowledge gap about implementation of 5G at the regional level by focusing on 18 non-EU countries, including 5 Western Balkan economies. And thereby this, with the objective of complementing the work which many observers are doing in the EU. So I would like to start by reiterating the importance of the current market developments and trends in the discussion around 5G. As you can see from the graph on the left, looking at the mobile market, the report finds that it is true that around 5 million new mobile broadband subscriptions have been activated since 2015 across Western Balkan 5 economies, including Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Serbia in this case. But this has not kept pace with the wider regional average. Looking at the graph on the right-hand side, however, should bring a lot of optimism. The fact that now 4G coverage has reached the European average with more than 8.5 million people covered by 4G over the past 5 years only in Western Balkan 5 economies, we really expect an increase in mobile broadband subscriptions, especially as 4G reaches full maturity. There are also other conditions such as affordability in mobile services, which is good compared to global averages and regional averages in the Western Balkan 5 that support this claim. But why is this is talking about 4G so important? Well, because expanding the consumer base by increasing 4G subscriptions and uptake will not only help full 4G maturity, but also invigorate operators, thus creating the conditions for an accelerated development of 5G. So where do we stand on the 5G implementation in Western Balkan 5 economies? So this slide reports a few general milestones in each countries. Overall, it is fair to say that the commitment to accelerate the development of 5G is present and first steps have been taken, but COVID-19 has pushed back plans by around 6 months to up to a year. But this is not the time to give country-specific recommendation. I invite you to read the report in depth, which will be published later today. But I will now just want to outline a few general recommendations which are divisible from the report and other ongoing trends. So first of all, from a technical perspective, as you can see from the left, it is important to notice that the specific bands, among the specific bands identified for 5G, 3.6 gigahertz band is being already allocated for testing across almost the totality of countries. Then we also observe that with regards to the use of the 26 gigahertz band and the 700 megahertz band, these are usually held back because on the one hand, there is a lack of clear commercial value in the 26 gigahertz, and on the other, there is a concrete risk of interference. Speaking of interference, also digital dividend 2 remains a challenge in most countries as this poses a risk to reducing 5G time to market, but also as well as preserving broadcasting services. In all countries, then EMF is of concern, but there are best practices. I can think of the example of Serbia with regards to monitoring and addressing public concerns. Other issues that you can read from the report, which I will then also post in the chat, may include backhaul for 5G, small cells deployment, interoperability, and network virtualization. From a business perspective, then, new CapEx investment, of course, carries risk. Just as 4G, investing in 5G currently poses risks, but also is an obligatory step to remain competitive. The difference with 4G, however, is that 5G implementation requires a much more proactive and systemic approach. And this may include creating new innovation ecosystems locally, also ensuring a supportive role of regulation through regulatory sandboxes and enabling environment for private networks, for example. but also creation of new partnerships, for example, with academia or vertical industries, and investing in skill development in academic institution. But last and not least, also leapfrogging. I think it's very important for Western Balkan economies to capture the developments occurring outside the respective countries to avoid making mistakes, or to really leverage the advances that are being done elsewhere. So to wrap up, I would like to fix just these 3 points in mind. Accelerating 5G development cannot happen without full 4G maturity, both from a technical and business perspective. On more proactive building of soft infrastructure within countries, also with greater involvement of the public sector and greater cooperation between public and private sectors. Finally, we at ITU also believe that there is a strong need to embed these approaches in a coherent national strategy, which leverages input from all stakeholders involved. And this must have clear objectives and KPIs and implementation roadmap, which can make this accountable to the stakeholders in the country. So just to conclude, ITU stands ready to work and continue working with the countries and eventually support them with regards to 5G implementation. So back to you, Ms. Nives.
Thank you a lot. Let us somehow continue and ask Mr. Ilyushev what is his view and how he can comment your statements. Julian, it is good to hear that Western Balkan economies are willing to have faster deployment of 5G and preparation for 5G. But what is your view, Mr. Ilyushev, how you see this?
Well, we at Makedonski Telekom are very explicitly and publicly demonstrating our commitment to 5G in the last 3 years. Back in September 2018, we have organized the first public demonstration of 5G in our headquarters premises. And we demonstrated to the public, to the journalists, speeds over 3 gigabit per second, for instance. 1 year later, we launched 5G pilot project, a project that we call Customer Experience Network, with 5 base stations deployed in real network environment in the city of Skopje. And we measured downtown speeds in the center of the city with 1 gigabit per second, for instance. The pilot lasted for 1 year, and at the end of the last year, 2020, we have decided to proceed in modernization of the entire radio access network by introducing 5G capabilities in it. The contract with Ericsson was signed at the beginning of 21, and we are now in the middle of running a network swap. Based on the plan, we expect that by year end 23, we will be in a position to cover all major cities in Macedonia with 5G. Still, however, on the other side, our plan for commercial launch is on hold, that nothing can be done without 5G spectrum. And there are reasons for that. Not only that the one-time fee expectations are high, we are also having in Macedonia one of the highest annual fees for radio frequencies. For instance, over 2% of our mobile service revenues are ending up as fees payable to the regulator, while the EU benchmark that we have is much lower and in the vicinity of 1.2%. So all in all, we are very keen and very motivated to proceed in direction of 5G rollout and launching commercially 5G, but depends, of course, on the availability of spectrum that we expect is going to be resolved by the end of this year or latest beginning of next one. When speaking about artificial intelligence, our primary focus is in 3 areas. The first area is improvement in the customer experience by introducing chatbots that are more effective and efficient. Of course, we do understand and do not expect that those chatbots are going to fully replace human service agents in addressing complex concerns. However, we believe that artificial intelligence systems will increasingly be able to relieve human agents from standard tasks, and thus give human agents more time for the tasks that they can do only. The other area of interest is network operation tools that are AI-driven to manage networks with zero touch, utilizing self-healing capabilities powered by AI. The idea is basically that operators can monitor and analyze the customer experience, predict complaints, and proactively optimize services and capabilities to keep customers happy and reduce churn. And the last area of interest in AI segment is data-driven analytical tools for internal company use, for instance, for forecasting, planning, brand capacity predictions, and so on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ilyushev. Good to hear. I mean, that 5G, they are more than basis. I mean, it was established to start with 5G, then also all these use case sharing. Thank you very much for this. Elvin, let's continue with you. In case you would have 5G running, up and running, and in case you would have, of course, your innovative ideas, how you would approach use cases in 5G using artificial intelligence, from experience you have or for ideas for future you have?
I'm rather privileged coming after and speaking after Mr. McNeil and Mr. Ilyushev, because they covered quite eloquently both the concerns and the challenges that the industry faces in adopting 5G and in then implementing applications of 5G. As it is, we're looking at financial services in several aspects, conversational and AI, a higher level of chatbots, for instance, data analytics, and generally seeking to anticipate their conversion from to digital native. We think that there is quite a bit of potential there, especially in the opportunity to leapfrog the established and the incumbents industries, and we're looking to support them. Clearly, making sure that our network and we as a company are among the primary adopters of 5G tools and applications will be focused as well. And I'd rather not go into that because Mr. Ilyushev explained it much better than I could ever do. Of special interest to me, though, continues to be also healthcare applications, where we see potential for telemedicine, especially covering those areas, the rural areas that have historically, during the past 30 years, been underserviced. If we can contribute to enhancing the quality of service and healthcare that is being provided to the rural areas, then perhaps we can contribute also to the slowing down the depopulation of such areas, thus contributing to the wider economy. These are areas where I think we as an industry could contribute quite a bit.
Thank you very much, Elvin. I'm somehow happy to hear depopulation, because this is a problem of all our countries. Therefore, very important aspect to take care about. And as Julian already said, and you mentioned as well, I mean, to go in a new use cases with 4G advanced or a 5G, definitely network 4G should be sustainable, that they can provide basis to the of the services. Fully agreed. Fiola, you mentioned during your presentation, your slides, that there is a program and plan for a 2030 where Kosovo is looking for to actually have activities in development until then of ICT society. Please, can you share shortly with us your view and your plans?
Yes, sure. I shared before the actual activities that we have completed until now. in terms of connecting the white areas, but the actual involvement also on our plans and what we're doing with 5G, we are also supporting mobile network operators in connecting their towers, their mobile towers with fiber optics, and in that way to create this 5G ready environment at those sites. So far, the project is going very well, and we are continuing with these activities on actually supporting our MNOs to start with commercial 5G as soon as it is possible. But at the same time, we are looking into possibilities on also supporting our sector, the ICT sector, with introducing new activities that could close these connectivity gaps. And after closing these connectivity gaps, we will have, let's say, quality broadband infrastructure in the country. Another important intervention of the government that they are working on now is to actually pilot 5G in one of these in Kosovo. The plan is to pilot 5G in Prizren, in this Kosovo German Innovation and Training Park. It is an ITP park with an area of around 39 hectares. Plan is to use this park to test 5G campus network that will also enable operators to advance as soon as possible in providing new services and technologies such as those enabled by the 5G network. This campus network will also be a very great opportunity for academia and businesses as well to use this as a 5G testing as well as training environment for our youngsters. This is for the, let's say, for the 5G pilot. But if I go back to the AI and also through our project, we are looking into possibilities, as also Alvin mentioned before, on the depopulation. We have connected the villages. We have connected the white areas. But the challenge that we face is on how to better use this broadband infrastructure, how to better introduce these services that are provided through broadband, that will be provided also that the AI also can turn in, for example, for healthcare, but for education as well. We have also other plans, if I can talk now or maybe afterwards, about the strategy.
Yes, continue, but very short, because we still have some questions. Yes, continue, Viola.
Yeah. Okay. So, So I will continue also about, let's say, what we are doing in order to utilize as much as possible the new digital technologies in the best possible way. So on that sense, to also be in line with our goals in the future, the ministry, the government, with all the other stakeholders as well, is working on drafting the new Kosovo Digital Agenda 2030, which will have strategic objectives on 5G as well. One of the main objectives will be on digital infrastructure with relevant activities on ensuring efficient allocation of radio spectrum for 5G, promoting 5G network slicing, among others, as well as to stimulate the gigabit connectivity. At present, as you all also may know, Kosovo still did not start with 5G deployment, with commercial 5G deployment yet, even though for the 5G pioneer bands in 3.6 gigahertz and 26 gigahertz, they are already spare. But we face the similar issues also with other countries on the 700 megahertz that we expect to be released soon. And after that, the Kosovo regulator will proceed with other procedures for 5G frequency licenses. And on the other hand, taking into account that artificial intelligence is one of the technologies with the greatest potential for transformation in all areas of productive activity, we strongly believe that AI can boost labor productivity and also shorten the timeline to growth for the years to come. to come. On that sense, among other things, Digital Agenda 2030 will include specific activities on AI as well that will create the right environment for the promotion and uptake of innovative technologies, such as AI, Internet of Things, and stimulate ICT companies to utilize those on their daily jobs and their daily tasks that they have. And in that sense, artificial intelligence to be as a key driver for industrial revolution. Another very important aspect to consider on for the AI is on the digital skills. We know that in order to actually use AI, but also to develop new services, we need a skilled population. So another aspect that we are considering on that sense is also to promote, let's say, skills interventions in ICT, in AI skills, not only in ICT, but also relevant to other sectors as well. A digital agenda, as it is being drafted now, will be in line with the main new digital policies, such as gigabit connectivity, but also with the newly adopted EU digital decade. But we will also take into account of national context, because of course we cannot just copy paste everything, but we have to see what actually works for Kosovo and what actually would benefit us more. So yeah, just to wrap up, please.
Yeah, please wrap up. We need to continue.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, just to wrap up. So yeah, we expect to have this digital new agenda adopted in this year, because the action plan will also be for the years to come. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Fiola, for very nice and detailed explanation. It is good to hear that 2030 will come fast. Therefore, it is good to hear to have a good plan with the activities defined, because this is a key point that things are materializing later and happening. Let us also go a little bit to Ms. Meliha. Ms. Meliha, it is probably not fair and mature to talk about complete coverage with 5G. But nevertheless, as Fiola also mentioned, there are plans. What are actually activities and plans for the future for Bosnia and Herzegovina?
Yes, just please let me to say a few words about the role of the regulator. So Communications Regulatory Agency, alongside Council of Ministers of Bosnia and Herzegovina, as a policy maker and industry itself, have significant role to play in enabling the development and rollout of 5G and unlocking its benefits. Introduction of 5G networks requires important regulatory decisions to be brought. Regulatory measures need to provide strong incentive for investment, fostering market competition and pursuing consumer protection at the same time, what is not always easy task to do. So the regulator needs to ensure efficient management of spectrum as a scarce resource. There need to be held open and transparent spectrum consultation processes to ensure investment-friendly, fair and non-discriminatory spectrum awards. To ensure the availability of services, proper coverage obligations need to be imposed, targeting specific needs of the country. So further, to support network development, there need to be considered measures on active or passive sharing of network and infrastructure that is sometimes conflicting with competition requirements. Furthermore, regulators have competencies for assessing and ensuring compliance with electromagnetic field safety limits, and to undertake public awareness to inform citizens on health-related issues about 5G. And as the number of services grows, consumers must have access to clear information on services, on coverage capabilities, service quality, and mobile speed, so that they can make a choice and choose whether to upgrade or not. So finally, the agency may have a significant role as a facilitator, working across different sectors, encouraging them to work together to broaden understanding of potential applications of 5G and facilitate their implementations. So a lot of responsibilities rest in the hand of the regulator, and that presents real challenge at the time of introduction of a whole new 5G ecosystem. Regarding market in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have 3 licensed mobile operators having their own fixed networks and providing voice, internet, ICT services. We have 3 incumbents actually. Since the award of 4G license in 2019, operators achieved significant development of 4G plus networks covering around 70% of territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina. By the end of 2020, penetration rate of mobile broadband connections reached 45%. So value of the mobile market in Bosnia and Herzegovina is around 24 million euros, or 33% of total telecom market. So just about 10 days ago, on 1st October this year, our Ministry of Transport and Communications opened public consultation on broadband development strategy and bid. Strategy envisages measures on facilitating uptake of high-speed networks and services, including 5G. According to proposed strategy, 5G licenses are to be awarded in 2024. So prior to award of 5G licenses, CRA, our agency, needs to adopt spectrum policy and ensure availability of frequency resources. So far, 700 MHz range is occupied by broadcasting service. Also, there are still radio links in ranges 3.5 gigahertz and 26 gigahertz. So due to late award of 4G license that happened in 2019, operators have not expressed yet their interest for earlier 5G commercial deployment and award of additional 5G spectrum. However, being aware of all new potential, operators have already announced that they are preparing for the introduction of 5G. In 2022, operators conducting 5G trials. Operators tested 5G technology in its own telecommunications environment. The measured speed were around 1.5 gigabit per second. So at the same time, significant investments in optical infrastructure are done. So that will certainly enable smoother deployment of 5G networks. What might we expect once we award 5G licenses? Certainly, initially, 5G is expected to improve speed and capacity. However, we expect significant application for fixed wireless access to achieve universal connectivity to all. We do have remote rural areas, we have mountainous areas, touristic sites that would be interesting to cover. But hopefully we shall witness opening prospects for artificial intelligence applications in various fields, including agriculture, energy, and smart living. So,
yes, Ms. Meliha, thank you very much. Let us continue. Just wanted to tell you, it is very important how regulator is acting, because from experience, I personally have, regulators can really boost and support development and transformation of technologies, sometimes can also make a break. Therefore, from my point of view, it's very important somehow to go in the right direction and to proactively take some measures, a positive one, to boost the next activities of all stakeholders in ecosystem.
Yeah, I would just mention, we already have some innovative approaches at the market. One of our mobile operators published open call for startup companies, and they dedicated 7.5 million euros for that purpose. And that demonstrates the awareness of traditional operators that they need innovations on their path to become more than digital company. And further speaking about fueling the development of artificial intelligence applications, we might say that there is perception in academic circles in Bosnia and Herzegovina that artificial intelligence has a strategic importance, but concrete actions and strategies on behalf of government still need to be defined. So that we need to impose some, let's say, public-private investment schemes, simply to bring artificial intelligence close to small businesses and potential users. So we have already good practice in region where some institutes for artificial intelligence have been established, or some mass courses on basics on IU have been done. So with the purpose to give insight into the world of IE for broad audience, students, non-technological companies, we simply need to prepare society for technological changes.
True. And this change will not happen without developed ecosystems, and all players in innovation is one of the key points. Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. Let us continue, and we need to a little bit speed up. Therefore, I would like to ask my next colleagues that shorten a little bit their answers. Mr. Yushev, I mean, there are many discussions always about use cases. What is your expectation of economics and trade impact of 5G in Western Balkan economies? And also, what is your view on use cases which could be of interest in Western Balkan countries with 5G?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think that it's important, first of all, to set the scene of what we have at this very moment and where we are heading. I was very positive and bullish on 5G, but I have to admit that from the plenty of use cases that I have seen so far in the Western Balkan countries, I haven't noticed the one that it's necessarily requiring 5G. For instance, connected cars operate today with over 4G networks. Even in the Internet of Things domain, Makedonski Telecom, for instance, just finalized the implementation of the smart city project in Skopje with 10,000 smart lights, and we are providing seamless and scalable connectivity for smart lighting over 4G narrowband IoT protocol. So just to set things right, 5G is not going to be a massive revenue block in our profit and loss statement in the next 3 to 5 years. It will for sure create an appetite. It will create an appeal among customers to upsell. But how this monetization is going to work, it's yet to be seen. Yet we are carefully observing some interesting areas that could become big and relevant for 5G. For instance, things like virtual reality mobile gaming, like immersive experience use cases based on virtual reality or augmented reality. Then we are speaking about 5G fixed wireless access. That could be a solution for broadband in rural areas. Industry 4.0 solutions like connected machines, robots, large-scale automation. Last but not least, in area that looks super cool, super attractive is the assisted driving functionalities or even autonomous driving capabilities. Some of these use cases would require reliable and low latency 5G car-to-car communication. And I guess and fully agree that it sounds far-fetched for Western Balkans at the moment, but imagine that 25 years ago, there was no 2G available network in Western Balkan. The first commercial 2G network was launched in Finland back in 1991, exactly 30 years ago. So with the exponential pace of technology development, we could expect all these things in some form in less than 10 years from now. I would like to stress that governments need to take active role in shaping the new reality. The experience with the past 3 mobile technology circles, 2G, 3G, and 4G, in the past 25 years in Macedonia showed that policymakers were setting the ambition, coverage, targets, quality KPIs, and so on, and private companies were the ones delivering. Government needs to recognize that if 5G is the magical ingredient that has such a transformative power for the society, they have to start acting proactively and support the operators who are building the new digital highways for the future. Very good example is Greece, where government is trying to establish an ecosystem around 5G of innovations, focusing on novel use cases, supporting infrastructure rollout, incentivizing demand for broadband connectivity, and so on.
Mr. Iljusev, thank you very much for very key messages. From my point of view, 5G will give those KPIs, those capacities, those possibilities that should be used. Therefore, use cases will definitely exist. But very important, what you also underline is, this is transformation of society. And transformation of society cannot be led only by enterprises or the private sector, definitely. Let us continue. Julian, listening our colleagues coming from Western Balkan countries and underlining that artificial intelligence is must for 5G. What are your comments or your opinion? How to ensure, what should be done to ensure artificial intelligence to be developed on the level to be used and to be of benefit?
Thank you very much, Ms. Neves. I will try to be very, very short. I think as I mentioned before, for the discussion around 5G, a strategic approach is also key here. Recently, I can point out to the fact that ITU has launched a report on emerging technology trends, artificial intelligence and big data for development, which really puts the strategy at center stage. And at least on 3 pillars. The first is the focus on data. AI is all about data. The second one is a human-centric approach, also in line with the EU provisions and the EU approach. And then the third is a whole of government approach to an AI strategy, which really focuses on data security, protection, privacy, open data, and data skills. Also, I would like to, so this is just responding to your question, what I wanted to emphasize. I just want to also point out to a few resources that I will post, that I will paste in the chat about the work of the ITU-T that is doing a lot on standardization. For example, they have a focus group on machine learning for 5G, a focus group on AI for health, another one for autonomous and assisted driving, and many others. So I will close here and hand over to you, and we'll paste some resources in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Julian, a lot. Okay, we are approaching end of our panel. We would be able to speak a lot because with such a credible panelist, we really can learn a lot. Last question I would somehow dedicate to Elvin. Elvin, you being entrepreneur, innovator, what you would expect actually for needed and supportive actions that this new technology transformation can be successfully done?
I think the previous speakers said it very clearly. The governments need to be a lot more proactive. They need to ensure that the business has sufficient incentives to look at the next 5G investment cycle, not as a 4 or 5 year, but as a 10-year investment cycle. Therefore, they need to show flexibility, as the case of Greece that Mr. Lushev mentioned, in terms of pricing the frequencies and in terms of providing flexibility on the coverage to be provided, and on encouraging generally, not just the industry, but also business widely, to start looking at the possibilities for the adoption of this. The industry, as it has shown throughout the region, is prepared to invest proactively. But we need to be able to make sure that our cost-benefit analysis can work in practice. Otherwise, as things stand, the current adoption, rate of adoption and digitalization of our business is rather low to justify 5G adoption on its own.
Clear. Thank you very much, Elvin. Let me also somehow put one slide produced by myself just as a conclusion of our panel, because we would like all of us here, we would like that our messages are spread and that based on these messages, actually things in the future will be materialized as well. Okay, we'll share as well. Do I share? Yes. Okay. Okay. Key messages, what we would like, we being today on this panel, we would like to transport is definitely that technology cannot make transformation by itself, that ecosystem needs to be developed. Ecosystem cannot be developed by itself, definitely support of all stakeholders needed. Also what Julian underlined is 5G is different than 4G. And without proactive approach, we will need to have a decades when 5G can be really used and can bring the benefits as the technology can bring. Government support of a new technologies introduction and adoption in all aspects is needed. I mean, when I say in all aspects, I mean deployment of technologies by having a university support, by having a technology parks establishment. Then we need also to have resources who will deal with this. This is important as well, and this can be also done by support from government to push the education of people in the right direction. Definitely different supportive measures to boost technology, like startups support, SME support, support to associations who are deeply engaged and pushing deployment and boost those new technologies transformation. Then with the right approach, what just Elvin said, there are many local opportunities which will make Western Balkan economies attractive to investors. Investors will not come by themselves. They will come when they can make a profit, and when they can make profit when environment and connectivity, in our case, is established on the right level. And also at the end was Mr. Lyushev underlined very clearly, and Alvin underlined very clearly, active role of public sector is needed. This is transformation of society, as mentioned already. Transformation of society cannot be done only with one leg or one stakeholder. All hands and legs of this being body should be in use, and only then can be done in a reasonable time. Nothing can be done over the night, but in a reasonable time and with the benefits for all stakeholders. With this, I would like to thank you very much to all our presenters. I would like to thank you very much to all participants of Western Balkan Summit who were listening and hopefully enjoying our discussion, learning out of this as well, and recognizing what are the next steps exactly in this direction to make 5G and artificial intelligence of use for us. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Nives. It was an amazing panel, a very important discussion. Now it's time for a coffee break, and don't forget during the coffee break to check out the possibilities on our platform, such as the virtual booths, such as the possibilities to socialize, and also our lightning talks and inspiring cases. See you soon.